Great job, my fellow berserkers. How's everybody doing today? This is Big Bad Wolf, and today I will be going over my first impressions of a demo I got to play of Nexon's newest upcoming game. This looks like this will be their very first single-player action RPG, the first Berserker Kazan. To start off in the story, you play as General Kazan, a great general of the Pelos Empire. Unfortunately, he was eventually betrayed by being accused of treason and sentenced to exile for punishment. His sentence was severed. Miraculously, he was saved by an avalanche. With the help of a strange entity, he survived. What this entity is or what it wants, we will find out as the story progresses. This will more than likely be the eternal conflict of Kazan within the story. First off, this game would definitely be classified up there with the Souls-like games. In the demo, we will see that there will be a bonfire mechanic. As we see in this cutscene here, this crystallized blood-like sword will be this game's bonfire mechanic. For those that aren't aware, a bonfire is pretty much a resting point for your character. Within Souls-likes, they serve as a checkpoint. Say you die in a certain area, you will respawn back at the bonfire you either last lit or last rested at. They also act as a place where you can level up your character's stats such as vigor, endurance, strength, dexterity, etc. Though in this game it's vigor, endurance, strength, willpower, and proficiency. In which I have no idea what willpower and proficiency is. I have a good idea, but I'm still kind of trying to understand that. However, unfortunately, the catch is whenever you rest at a bonfire, all the enemies you killed except for the major bosses will respawn, so you'll have to fight them all again, depending on what route you're on. Now for Souls-like, the mechanics of this game are pretty much the same. We have our regular attack, heavy attack, charge attack, block, and dodge mechanics. Like many Souls-likes, we have our parry. The way this game's parry works is quite similar to Sekiro, where if you perfectly time a block, it deflects the attack and takes down part of the enemy's stamina bar. Once their stamina bar is depleted, they will become exhausted and thus are left open for a brutal attack. In most Souls-like, those are called ripostes, or I don't know how you pronounce that, someone can tell me in the comments. And same with your character. If your character loses their stamina and takes a hit, you will become exhausted and thus you will be left open for an attack by your enemy. But pretty much, this brutal attack will allow you to do some major damage to the boss, whatever enemy you're fighting, and you'll be able to regain your stamina. You'll know when you perfectly time a block, as you will see a purplish reddish ore whenever your weapons clash. This will mean you timed it just right. If you time your dodge correctly, you'll get what's called a brink dodge, where it shows a speed ore, or pretty much, for those of you anime and Dragon Ball fans, it will show an after image of your character. Now it goes without saying, but there will be attacks that you cannot block. You have to dodge them. And I should also mention this, you probably saw earlier, I did a breakfall or a plunge attack. In this game, that is, you'll do what's called a plunge attack to an unsuspecting enemy. You can fall down and press X and you'll do a powerful attack that takes them out. Whereas in a lot of Souls-likes, you could do a plunge attack and it does the same thing. Another attack mechanic that they added is called the counter attack. There will be certain types of enemies that can do a brutal attack, and this will cause a prompt to pop up on your screen. This prompt lets you know that this attack cannot be blocked under any circumstances. You either have to dodge it or you can counterattack. If you counterattack, just like the brink dodge and block, you have to time the prompt just right, in which for my controller it's LB plus B, and if you time it just right, you'll get the purplish ore and your character will do an attack that will stun the enemy for a bit, which will allow you to get some free hits in. And now the weapons you start out at the beginning of the game is you'll be dual-wielding an axe and a sword, in which I will tell you right now, this is my kind of Berserker playstyle. I love playing with an axe and a sword in hand, as I just love going unhinged like Wolverine. But down the road, you'll get a great sword and then a spear, and you'll complete a trial with both, in which for the great sword you'll just fight some phantoms, and the thing with the great sword is any attacks you do will deplete your stamina more than if you're dual wielding. So you want to be very mindful of the stamina bar when using greatsword. With spear, you'll fight two phantoms with heavy shields and a sword and a spear, in which they really were kicking my hind end a few times. I was getting frustrated a couple of times, so I started using heavy attacks after perfectly timing a blocking, which is very hard, especially when fighting against the shield guy. Especially fighting against the sword and shield guys, even the spear guys are incredibly difficult because their attacks are much faster and swifter. But luckily, the spear has longer reach, and it's faster and doesn't deplete as much stamina, but you still have to watch it. Another interesting mechanic they added, even for Souls-like, is you'll get a skill tree for each weapon. With these skill trees, you can become an absolute menace with each weapon, as the skill tree can give you new abilities that you can use for your character, which is very reminiscent to me of the Darksiders games, to where, and within a skill tree, you could choose certain perks that give you certain abilities for your horsemen and truly make them a force to be reckoned with. And this game can truly make you into a berserker you was sworn to be. Another thing they can do is they can improve. For example, there's a perk that allows you that every time you perfectly time a block, unless you get the parry or brink block, you'll be able to do damage to that particular enemy, and you can also replenish your stamina fully. So I play this like a regular Souls-like game, and so I was kind of button mashing, playing like an idiot, just forgetting that skill tree was even a thing. And thus I was getting my socks whacked by the Yatuga you see here, and even the other boss you see down the road. But once I was able to figure that out, I went, oh, why am I making my life so much harder? Then again, I'm a glutton for punishment. But now what you see here in this boss is, that was an example of an attack you cannot block, and this here, another attack you cannot block. And thus I got my socks rocked off. You have to dodge those. But I will say, the boss fight is definitely very memorable. I definitely enjoyed fighting the Yatuga, as I'm a big kaiju fan. I play a lot of Monster Hunting, so to fight a boss like this, I was definitely excited, as this guy reminds me a lot of our favorite Super Saiyan monkey, Rajang. And which, the issue with him is, he really messes with you trying to time your block, because a lot of his attacks have delays, whereas the other boss you fight, he's very fast-paced, but there are times that there are delays, but he really finds a way to trick you into doing that. Again, very memorable. I love both bosses, but the Yatuga is definitely my favorite. I'm a sucker for kaiju, what can I say? The art style, I will say, was definitely very memorable, very amazing, very intuitive to a Souls-like. To me, it was like a Souls-like anime, which I also enjoy. I like seeing the wounds I inflicted, as it reminds me so much of Dragon's Dogma 2, to where each enemy I fought, each boss I fought, any wound I inflicted, I'd be able to see the wounds exactly where I hit the monster, the marks, and even the blood, which you have no idea how satisfying that is. I just love seeing developers give that much attention to detail to a game. This skill you just saw me do is a new ability to where you could throw a javelin, which again costs one of those yellow points, in which luckily the way you can receive back those yellow points is you have to attack an enemy and even a boss, but you have to continuously attack, because one attack isn't going to do it. Pretty much you will continue to attack until that dot gauge is filled up, and then go to the next dot. And once that happens, remember the skill tree I mentioned earlier, to where you can get abilities from that skill tree? Well, those abilities require each yellow dot. And so, without the yellow dots, you can't use them. Perfect. Right here, you just saw me do counterattack perfectly timed. Which, again, very difficult to pull off. You literally have to do it at just the right moment. And now the environments, I will say, again, reminds me so much a lot of Dark Souls, as a lot of the environments have their own traps. There was a moment when I was sneaking up on this monkey I was trying to kill, and as I was sneaking up on him, I felt the ice crack from underneath me, so they let me know either I get the heck out of Dodge, or I'm gonna end up dying to this environmental hazard. So it was just amazing just to see the environment. It was very beautifully crafted. Now, there are also shortcuts. earlier before you saw me fight the Yatuga boss, you probably noticed that there was a whack and I kicked off. What that allowed me to do is, earlier you saw me get my rear end beat by the Yatuga. If I hadn't kicked down that whack, then I would have had to walk all the way back around to that boss again. So pretty much it gave me kind of like a quick access route to the boss, so I didn't have to worry about doing everything all over again. And I will say, I love feeling the meatiness of every attack I was doing. Like every slash, every gash, every hack I was doing to an enemy with my axe, my sword, my glaive, and even my greatsword. It just felt super heavy and powerful, and you're just like, wow, I can't believe I managed to actually do that. This is amazing. For performance-wise, I played on PC where I encountered little to no performance issues. The only time I did was there would be a slight frame rate drop or sometimes a slight delay in cutscenes, or it would freeze during cutscenes, but not too badly, just a little bit, but then go back to normal. And there was a time when you guys saw when I was fighting the Yatuga boss, I broke the ice spikes on his left arm and the screen froze a little bit. So I'm not sure if it's performance or if it was just the recording on OBS. Other than that, everything ran very smoothly for this kind of game. Even though this game is a Souls-like, it presented the concepts, even though we're similar to Souls-likes, it really helps set it apart from the other Souls-likes. I mean, I enjoy playing this game. I love the art style, I love the direction. Just the fact I got abilities that I could use to really utilize to my advantage really made things so much more fun. My overall rating so far of this game is an 8 out of 10, which is pretty good. I had a blast playing it, and I will most definitely be getting this game when it releases in late March. This is a game I am definitely looking most excited for within the year of 2025. This may actually be a good year for gaming. Now, without any further ado, this is the boss fight of the Blade Phantom, a very challenging boss fight that took me several times to beat. So this boss battle, I will say, was very challenging to say the least. Blade Phantom definitely had a lot of unique movesets. There were times his attacks were pretty well telegraphed. Either they have delays like you'll see here with the punches and kicks he's doing. They had like very slight delays to where it would throw off on my timing on when to block, whereas his weapon attacks would be so fast that I'd be expecting a delay somewhere within there. And so he would end up just absolutely be massacring me every single time. And I would get super frustrated because at some point I'd be like, okay, maybe the best way to go about this is just to run around and try to get him from behind. But it turns out that doesn't work because again, you gotta watch out that stamina gauge, and once that gets low enough, he can just come in, give you one good attack, and all he needs is one good attack, and then you're exhausted, and then you're screwed. Because his next attack should pretty much take out your entire health bar. Like you'll see here with some of his attacks he does. He's literally leveling a good chunk of my health, which is very detrimental for when you're fighting a boss like him. And so what I ended up doing was, as I mentioned earlier, I played this like a regular Souls-like and just forgot about the skill tree in general like a friggin' idiot. And so eventually I had to adapt a different playstyle by using a different weapon. As I like using the dual wield axe and sword, but I realized that they're kind of slow. And this character, he's a pretty fast moving boss. And so I couldn't rely on the sword and axe. So I went for the spear because it's a longer weapon, has better reach, and doesn't extend as much stamina, whereas if I was to use the greatsword, unfortunately, even though it would be able to do more damage, it would cost me a lot more stamina, so I had to be more mindful of that, which, if you had to be mindful when it comes to, because with the greatsword, you would end up giving it like 3 attacks and you would have most of the health bar depleted, whereas with the spear, you could do like a ton of attacks you see me do here, and won't have much of it depleted. So I figured, you know what, let's go with the spear. It's probably my best course of action as long as I'm careful. And I also put in some skill points, in which one of them was Every time I did a perfect guard, it would replenish my stamina, and it would do some damage to the boss. And then my regular attacks, you'll notice, you'll see some flickering coming. That's my regular attack doing some extra damage. No, that's my heavy attack. Sorry, my bad. But pretty much once I was able to learn how to perfectly time the block and use the spear, I was pretty much all in the clear. But still, this was very challenging as I still got cocky a couple of times and ended up being killed. Overall, this was a very fun boss fight. So right here, we get a little bit glimpse in the story of who this Blade Phantom is. And I have a feeling that you'll see in this cutscene, but I have a feeling that the Blade Phantom we were fighting is the exact entity that possessed Kazan and managed to revive him from dead. And so I have a feeling this Blade Phantom was a manifested physical body version of the entity that has taken over Kazan's body, and is the reason why he survived. And so it looks like they're gonna form some sort of truce and alliance to help go against the Empire, because I accidentally skipped out on a cutscene during this boss fight. But pretty much, as I mentioned earlier, Kazan was accused of treason. This was sentenced to exile and death. But it looks like, looks like this Blade Phantom is a part of that empire that Kazan was exiled from. But it seems now Kazan and the Blade Phantom are trying to form some sort of truce, and so this is a very interesting storytelling. I look forward to see where this goes in the actual base game. Again, very interesting direction. I like the gameplay for this Souls-like. It's definitely unique in its own right, but it gives you the same elements that most Souls-likes would give you. I'm definitely looking forward to when this game comes out. Until then, Rage on, fellow Berserkers. Wolf out.